So I've had some requests to show how I use my little tiny liner and brush techniques. I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to start from scratch. This is Titanium White by Lascaux. Oh, it's way too big of a blob. And this is Graphite by Americana. This is a very cool tone dark gray, as you can see, and this is Titan Buff by Golden Fluid Acrylic. A little couple of blobs there. Okay, this is a cup of water, plain water. This Winsor & Newton Flow Improver. This keeps your paint, the pigments stay at the surface of the water. If you mix acrylics with just straight water, what happens is the pigments will want to settle and they'll drop. So basically you've got pigments at the bottom of the solution and water at the top. If you keep your pigments at the top of the solution, using a flow improver or some type of flow medium, basically it's going to take you less layers, just put it that way. That improver helps keep your paint smooth. I don't see a huge amount of difference with it. That, you know, I couldn't do a horse without it, but I do use it, and, you know, I try to keep it on hand. Okay, dip my brush in the water. I'll dip it in the side of the white, gray, that. I'm just going to start mixing a little concoction here. I like to add enough water to it, keep it kind of runny, so that I have it to use. Okay, and you see that's kind of gray. I'm going to put just a smidge more beige in that. Okay, it's gray. It's not white. Now, I'll try to get this where you can see what I am doing. And this is the brush I'm going to be using. This is a Kolinsky Reservoir Liner, Series 1310, size 2. Okay, see, that's a lot of paint, yuck, yuck, yuck. Too much paint. So, I use my shorts for this, but since this is here, I'm going to rub that across, okay? Now we don't really see anything. But, I'm going to do... Go in here, barely touch the horse. Barely touch. If you got too much paint, your marks are going to be too big. But I have a big body of white. This is going to be a Sabino. So if I'm just going to the horse with the brush, I might pick a spot that's going to have a lot of white on it just so I can kind of waste some paint on there. I balance my pinky somewhere on this horse to stabilize my hand. This is probably going to be hard for y'all to see. I am really sorry. Okay, let's try to zoom in just a smidge. Alright, by this point my paint is dry on my brush. You really have limited time because you're only dealing with a few bristles here. It's going to be too much. Anyway, I'll start over here at my white. Okay, I don't mind a longer stroke if I've got a large body of white. Once I get up here, it is literally the tap of the brush. And you saw how gray that mix was I made. And it probably looks like straight white on this horse because the body color is fairly dark. But it's not. And that's why I always recommend not to use straight white. If I use straight white on this horse, it's going to look really forced and really contrasty, and it's just not going to look good. I've been there, I've done that, I've done it. It doesn't look good. I don't want these hairs real close together, so I just lick a Q-tip here and kind of get that off there. Not happy with it. There we go. Okay. Always follow the hair pattern. I'm not happy with this either. Always follow the hair pattern. I'm essentially doing little dots of color. I'm not doing lines of color. because it'll immediately throw it out of scale. But I am doing dots. I wipe my brush off every time I go to the horse. And this is just basically what I do. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny tap of the brush. Okay. Let's see here. I'm not going to do too much because I can't see this real close. Right now, the hair strokes might look like they're kind of all over the place. Some are longer, some are shorter, but I layer, okay? When you layer, you've kind of got a little bit of room for error. And just to kind of speed along, I'm not going to do a whole set of white markings with this. I'm just showing you how I use my brush. Let's just kind of, I'll show you what this little effect will do here. Again, you saw the mix. The mix is pretty gray. It's going on the horse white. It looks that way because the actual body color of the horse is dark. So imagine if that was straight white and how bright that would look. Again, I'm just basically doing this to show you how I hold this brush, how I use the brush on the horse. I'm going to clean this out. I'm going to take a little bit of my gray mix I just put over here and I'll slap that down over there. Add a little bit more white to it. And a little bit more beige, warm it up. This is how I'm thinning. If I can see the brush stroke on the plate as I thin the paint, it is not thin enough. Wipe my brush. Now that's a lighter mix than the gray over here. Now let's just put this over here in the middle. I'll show you what this is going to do. Let's see if I can zoom in for you. There we go. Alright. See now that I've used something that's a little bit paler and more white, now you see it. You've almost got kind of like an instant mapping around this marking because of the gray mix I've used. Okay, now when I do this, that was, you know, it's not white, but it's a lighter mix. So what I'll do is, as I do each layer, and this is even on the Roaning areas, I'm going to do each layer with just a little bit lighter mix of paint. And then I'll jump around and skip around and won't do it right on top of it. And you wind up getting a very nice, subtle, round effect.